Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. I'm joined by Valerie Gruber and Deborah Lean, and they're going to give you a 20-minute presentation on our 2019 application process and top tips from the recruiters. Please feel free to ask Valerie and Deborah questions using the questions tab on your screen as we go through, and they will answer these at the end of the presentation. We'd also be very grateful for any feedback, and there's an opportunity for you to leave this at the end of the webinar. And now I will hand over to Valerie and Deborah.
Thank you, Emma. Here's Valerie. So first of all, a very warm welcome and thank you for your interest in our graduate program. Our session will cover following topics: why you should apply to our 2019 graduate program, our process, and top tips for each of the application stages. And we will finish the session with questions. In terms of timing, we expect to cover the slide content in around 20 minutes, and we will then turn to questions for 10-15 minutes. So why a webinar on process today? A good preparation and an understanding of the different steps are key for successful application, and we really want to support you in this process. In addition, and it's sure, application deadlines are a few weeks away now. It's the 28th of October for the investment stream and the 5th of November for technology and business management. We will review and interview on a rolling basis. So early applications are strongly encouraged. As a result, we very much hope the timing and the content of this session are useful for you today and in the next week. I'm going to hand over to Debbie now.
Okay, so the question is why apply to Insight? So we are a leading global asset manager with a history of growth and success since it was created in 2002. We've had rapid growth since that time. We've moved from a business of 26 billion sterling of assets in the UK to over 600 billion of assets globally in over 7 countries. We now have around 800 employees, and as a result of this growth, we are launching a drive in graduate talent for 2019. We have strong support throughout the firm, and we are growing our UK programme streams from 1 stream within investment to 3 across technology and business management. So 2019 will be the first class for our technology and business management streams. This is an exciting time to join, as you can really make a mark on the organisation. The next question is what makes our programme stand out from our competitors. We provide a comprehensive training programme from day one. We support applicable professional qualifications such as the IMC and the CFA for those that go through the investment stream. We support individuals at each stage with a dedicated mentor, and there is also an opportunity in a business of our size to have a personal impact on the success and the future of the business. As an organisation, we have a relatively flat structure, and ideas and discussions are strongly encouraged at all levels. Our programme is also very boutique. We are planning on up to 20 graduates for 2019, and that means that each graduate has individual visibility. It's also an opportunity to widen your exposure through the rotation programme, which means that you will have experience and a network across all parts of the business, and that will give you a really sound understanding of the business as a whole.
Great. So the first stage of application will be an online application form. So you will be asked to provide some basic information, contact information, availability to start next year, etc. And then as well, you'll be asked to fill in details on your education, previous work experience, and extracurricular activities. So some notes on that. On the education, it will be limited to your A-levels or equivalent, and any attained or expected university degree, where we have, the thing to note, a minimum 2.1 requirement or equivalent. For the previous work experience, don't think that you just have to list structured internships. So any work experience that you've gathered, paid or unpaid, is relevant. So don't be shy in putting it in there. And on extracurricular activities, we're probably interested in understanding what you do outside university and when you're not, working during your summer break, for example, who you are as a person, what are your center of interest, and I think that the value add in answering those questions and putting details there is as well a bit more information about, for example, if you're part of a club, do you have any position of responsibilities? Have you done any projects as part of that club? If you do any sports outside university, what are some of the implications around your time management? What is the commitment? So same thing here. Don't be shy about being specific. I think when you fill in this type of application form, there's a certain level of data entry that is required, but always think about how you can individualize it and make it true to yourself. And there's just one difference. So all the 3 streams, you'll find that the application form is similar. There's just one difference for the technology stream, where we've added a space to indicate any IT programming skills that you have and the level of proficiency. So if you have any, please list them there. So once you've completed the application form, as the last item that you have to complete before submitting will be 1 motivational question. Why do you want to work at Insight Investment, and how does it align with your career aspirations? The question is really designed to give all candidates a level playing field. You don't need any prior industry knowledge or experience to answer it. And what's behind it is that we're really looking at your motivation, and a very important thing, a personalized answer. So take some time to think about why you want to say, answering the questions, really use the 4 word limit on that question, and this is your chance to be different from other candidates. So we hope that at the end of that we can understand you better, your thought processes, and also your capability to research the firm. Now, if you've completed that successfully, you will then come to the online testing stage, which is the second stage of our application process. So quite a few of you will already be familiar with online testing, or at least have heard about it, as a lot of firms with structured internship and graduate programs include these already as part of their process. Our online test is divided in 3 parts. So first, numerical ability, and then inductive and deductive reasoning. So why do we test this? The graduate program, as you know, covers different business areas, different roles, different rotation, and some will be more numerically focused than others. But strong analytical and reasoning skills are always key throughout the firm. So this is at the basis of us having these tests as the second stage of our application process. What do we mean by assessment on a percentile basis? So it means that you need to score well against others who have taken the test. And on that, be reassured that if you have found the test challenging, that means that a lot of people will also have found these hard to do. This is a timed test, so ensure you take it in exam-like conditions, put yourself in a quiet environment. No chance of being interrupted is a very, very good idea. And then you will have up to 5 days from receipt of the testing invitation email to sit these. So our advice is really to familiarize yourself with the format of the test, especially if you've never done these before. You will find practice tests on the website once you receive the invitation. If you click on the link, it will take you to the testing platform, and that has a few practice tests. But as well, if you Google numerical ability tests, online test, or reasoning tests, you'll find a lot of mini practice opportunities that you can do for free as well. So our advice is don't necessarily overthink it. These tests are very, very standard around the industry, but as well, if you've never done something like that, take some time to understand what it looks like and what the type of questions are.
Okay. So the next stage will be the video interview. So after the initial online screening, if you are successful, you'll be invited to a face-to-face interview via the video conference. These interviews will be with a member of the HR team and also a business representative. These are not recorded interviews. We aren't asking you to pre-record anything and send anything to us. These are live interviews with members of our team, and will last about 30 minutes. The things you need to be prepared for is clearly to articulate why you want to work in the area that you've applied to, and also why you want to work within asset management industry and financial services. The other thing to think about is that the people that you are meeting virtually are very proud to be working for Insight as a business, and you need to think about why you want to work here and be able to articulate that to them. The best candidates are going to be well prepared and researched, and that means researching not just the company but also the role, and the email invitation that will be sent to you will contain a lot of information about the format and the preparation, so make sure that you read it and read it all the way through to the end. The other thing to think about is that the face-to-face interview is in this process because we want to meet you and we want to get to know you as a person, and make sure that you're honest and open, because it will become very apparent to the interviewers if that isn't the case. Make sure that you read through your CV so that you're clear about what you've put onto your CV before meeting with the individuals, and be prepared to highlight your experiences. Prepare questions in advance. There will be questions that you will think about as you go through the process, I'm sure, but preparing and not thinking on the hoof during the interview process is important. The environment that you're in was also important, so make sure that nobody's going to come in to the room that you're interviewing in, and that you wear business attire. And if you don't understand a question or you don't have an answer to a question, be honest, don't make it up. Again, that will become very obvious to the interviewers. And then onto the assessment centre. So if you get through those levels of screening, you will be invited to an assessment centre, which is a 1.5-day event which will be held in London between our offices and another location. The first half day starts mid-late afternoon and will give you time to prepare for the assessment centre the following day. And in the evening there will be a networking event at our offices that will give you the opportunity to meet not only the recent graduates who have joined our programmes, but also some of the interviewers that will be on the assessment centre and some of our senior team who will come along. There is London hotel accommodation provided overnight, which is in walking distance of our offices, and also the assessment centre location. So in terms of the dates for each stream, there is the 15th of November is the assessment centre for the investment stream, and the 14th of November is the preparation and networking event. For the technology stream, the assessment centre is the 23rd of November, and the 22nd of November will be the preparation and networking event. And for the business management stream, the assessment centre is the 7th of December, and then we have the half day on the 6th of December for preparation and networking. There are a number of key competencies that are important to us at Insight, and that is cognitive ability, collaboration, accountability, continuous learning and continuous improvement, and commercial focus. And we're going to be looking for well-rounded candidates that do well across all of these areas. So in terms of top tips, make sure that you come to the assessment centre in business attire. Think about what we're looking for and what we are asking you to do on each exercise, and make sure you put your best foot forward. Take the opportunity to meet and talk to our senior representatives and the other graduates and really get to know us as a business as well as the individuals. And remember that our core values are very important to us, and these are teamwork and collaboration, which are at the heart of our business.
That's fantastic. Great. We'll be able to move to questions, and I've seen that there's some questions coming through. The first one is, when do you expect to hear back after taking the test? So our application process will go pretty swiftly on. As we've just heard, we have our assessment centres between mid-late November and early December. So we are starting interviewing in about 3 weeks' time, and are starting screening in the course of next week. So you've been, for example, if you put an application now and you go through and you take the test, if you do not go through the test, you'll receive an email informing you about that. If you progress to the next stage, you'll also be informed, and then you should hear, I would say, within 1 or 2 weeks for most people around progression of your application. If by any chance you have to wait a little bit more than a week, don't panic. We are, again, conducting this assessment on a rolling basis, so it might be that you're just on hold for a few days and we then process you, for example, for first round interview. But you know at the very latest that by mid-November, late November, you would have heard about your application. Is there a limit to how much experience you can have? For example, someone was mentioning that they already have a qualification. So the graduate program is designed for people who are coming straight from education, so from their degree. It might be, for example, that some of you have done extensive internships, sometimes taken a year off as a placement year as part of your degree. That is absolutely fine. We value work experience obtained as part of a degree, so either a 1 year off or a series of summer internships. Yes, that's a very important question that we hear a lot when we go on campus as well, is, having little to no industry experience, will my application be fully considered? Yes, we value work experience obtained, in the course of your study. It doesn't need to be in asset management. It doesn't even need to be in financial services. There are a lot of valuable experiences that you will have acquired if you worked in any industry in some of your summer breaks that is transferable to a role in financial services and in our case in asset management. For any technical knowledge, this is why we have a graduate program, and we provide training when you arrive and as well throughout the rotation program, both at the desk and in classroom settings. So what we want to see is people, it was mentioned earlier in the presentation, who are rounded, and any type of experience at university, in the clubs that you do, and when you work during your class break will add to that all-rounded profile.
The only thing I would say is that you still need to be have an understanding of asset management and financial services as an industry, to be able to articulate why you want to join financial services and asset management. Yeah,
and that's probably down again to the point that we raised earlier in the presentation, to your capability of researching and preparing yourself for interviews, and then explaining why you're interested in joining the industry and the firm that you're applying to. We're working through some of the questions that we have. Yes, do you accept candidates with a non-finance degree? I think that's along the same stream. Absolutely. So you will see that when you go through the job postings for all three streams, there are no kind of strict indication of certain type of degrees that we would expect. I think the technology streams has a slight preference for people coming from a little bit more technical or a quantitative background. But again, if you've done something else and you like coding in your free time, your application is going to be very valuable as well. So what we look for in terms of education is something where you'll have experience in analysis, logic, communication skills. Again, a lot of things that are transferable, but relating to Debbie's point just now, if you've done a degree that has no relation whatsoever with financial services as a whole, be ready for questions in the interview around what your motivation is about the industry, the firm, and the role that you're applying to. But that's the type of preparation that anybody, regardless of major, can do.
There's been a couple of questions as well in regards to how many graduates are hired in the particular streams. Is there a particular limit?
Yeah, it's around, so it's not necessarily something. If you want a ballpark, historically in our investment stream, we had around 5-ish position, and we don't envisage that we're going to veer away dramatically from this number. We expect that that's going to be also the ballpark number for business management stream, and then for our technology stream, around the ballpark, same thing, number of about 10 graduates. So the advantage is that it will end up being a program that is structured and offers all the advantage of a large program, in that each graduate is provided a mentor. We also have a training from day one. There is significant senior management support for this initiative, but you have as well, so you have all the major element of a large structured program, but at the same time, it is quite boutique. It was mentioned earlier, which means every single graduate has high visibility, and we really think about each spot and why we need people in certain areas.
There's a good question here as well about what distinguishes a good cover letter from a bad cover letter. That's a good question.
Yeah, that's more general. I mean, in our application, we don't ask you to upload a cover letter. So we've done the shorter version, which is the motivational question. But indeed, some of you will have picked up that the motivational question pretty much goes to the core of what people would put in a cover letter. In one sentence, it's personalization. So avoiding writing something that is so standard that while it may be accurate and read well, as a recruiter you read and you just go, well, that could go to any firm in financial services, or that could also go to any firm regardless of industry. So that's probably the main advice. Really take the time to go through the information that we have on the website. If you meet any of our firm representatives at events, understand what makes you tick, what really relates to you on what you're reading, and put that in those couple of paragraphs. That's the winning for any type of motivational question.
I would also suggest that at the very basic level, make sure that there are no typos, make sure there's no spelling mistakes, and that your grammar is good. Because again, you want to distinguish yourself amongst your peers.
So there's another question here from one person about
work experience. Roughly, how many applications are you expecting to receive? Depend. We're probably early in the game in terms of application. I think historically we have received in the region of 800-ish. So it's a few hundred applications that we receive for the investment stream in the past, and we expect probably to receive in the same region for the two new streams. The underlying comment that I would put to that is don't start doing statistics in your head on how potentially successful you will be depending on the number of applications, the number of positions. If you are the right person for the position and you prepare well for your application, you'll stand very, very good chances to go through the application process. I've always said when asked that question on campus or at events is that if you don't apply for a program, your chance of being successful are at 0. So the moment you start researching and putting application, you increases your chances of going through quite dramatically.
And what about the motivational question?
Yeah.
Someone's just asking about general interviewing and if it's okay for them to focus on a particular aspect, such as client-facing in investment stream.
Yeah, I think there's probably a middle ground to be hit there. It's good depending on what you've done in your studies and previous work experience. You may already have developed an interest or some knowledge into a specific area. The advice is as well to keep your mind open. I think the nature of the rotational program is that it allows you to experience new teams, new experiences, and you'll find that, you know, for graduates who join, as they go through the rotation, their affinities and the plans ultimately for how they want to develop their career may move along the line.
Okay, and maybe we have time for maybe one or two more questions.
Which stream do you think is going to be more competitive? Highest number of application? So in terms of the competitiveness of the program, that relates a little bit to the earlier question. I think really choose the stream that is most appealing to you. Ultimately, if you are really motivated into one specific role, your application is going to come across as more honest and more impactful. And as well, if you go through to the interviewing stage, it's going to come across that you have genuine motivation. So try to choose the stream that you want to apply to, really being honest about what you want to do and where you want to start your career, rather than where you think you've got better chances.
Okay, and is there?
What company we use for the online test?
Yes.
It's quite a common one. It's SHL, which some of you who have done testing with other firms, maybe as part of your internship program, will be familiar with.
Right, so thank you very much, Deborah and Valerie. That's been fantastic. So if there are any other questions that we have from everyone who has signed in today, please feel free to forward those on to Valerie and Deborah. There we have an email address that's on the website. You can also have a look if you go onto insightinvestment.com. We have the graduate pages on there, and there is contact details for you to ask any further questions. Again, if you have any feedback for us today, we welcome all of the feedback, and thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Insight Investment webinar.